going to share a bit more information about our preparation for school program. It's going to be an introduction to this program, and I understand that most of you are not maybe going to work with this program, but in order to have the real complete structure and the really complete understanding of School of Tomorrow program, you need to know some basic information about preschool program. In fact, this preschool program is officially called Kindergarten with AC and Christie. And as all programs offered by ACE, Accelerated Christian Education, this program is presented by means of different materials. And we will actually discuss all of those materials. First of all, for whom is this program? One more time. This is for really small kids who are just preparing for the school, and we can use it starting with the kids who are 3 years old and then continue with those who are 4 and 5. And this program is applied to those children who are not ready to read. So which means the students who are just preparing for the school, because teaching them how to read, this is the first program from which the school program really begins, for the first grade. Then one of the main goals of this program is to develop the basic skills which will help the child learn to read. And also this program prepares them to learn sounds, then understand number concepts, and strengthen different skills such as visual, auditory, and coordination skills. Then, as you know, and as I mentioned in my previous lecture, the main program is actually a program teaching them how to read, because if you don't know how to read, you cannot study any school subjects. And that program, teaching them how to read, consists of 35 sounds. So, and the program of preparation for school is actually designed to prepare them for learning those 35 letter sounds, which will be presented every week. And then week 36 is a review week. Actually, for your information, I also want to share with you that normally academic year in the Russian school lasts for 34 weeks. But since we are an international school, our academic year is supposed to last 37 weeks. And we are internationally accredited, so that's why it may even last for 38 weeks. And that's why we continue our academic year in June, because it's a requirement for the international accreditation. And if you want your students to be successful learning preschool program, then you need to spend at least 4 hours every day for those activities which are designed in this course. And since the students are very young, then every activity lasts only for 15 or 20 minutes. And then, as I've mentioned before, there are some distinctive features of every program offered in the framework of School of Tomorrow program. And this program also consists of the procedures manual of 4 volumes. Actually, it's a lot of material. Then every student has individual set of paces, 12 paces in each subject for that grade. All subjects are color-coded, and also students are offered different animal stories, songs, and Bible stories. Then every volume of that manual is divided into special weekly instructions, and there are instructions for every day. And there is a list of songs and stories which are also supposed to be offered every day. And there is a special coding on every page of that manual. So this is how that coding may look like. For example, D3 Mule 1. So in this abbreviation, D3 means the day of the week, day 3, so it will be Wednesday most likely. Then Mule, this is the new animal or new sound which is introduced during that week. And 1, this is the number of the page. Or for example, D1 review W2 4, so review W2, it's a full review of week 2. and 4, the page number of day 1 material. So this is, of course, important for those who are going to work in that with that program. And then also, what I wanted to share with you, that there is a special arrangement of the Learning Center which is offered in the manual. In the preschool class, you may have offices or you may not have offices. It depends on the size of that group. In our school, we didn't have a big enough facility for the preschool group, and we never had any offices there. But ideally, there is supposed to be a certain area, as you can see on the picture, where you will introduce students to the work in the office. And I can tell you that this year we will have some offices in the preschool group, because last year we designed really small offices for young children, and I think there will be one section of 5 or 6 offices in the preschool group where students will be acquainted with the work in the office. And one more time, to your attention, this is the ideal setup of the student's office, and the supervisor of the preschool group will introduce and explain to the student what is going to happen in the office, so what each item in the office really mean, or what it's designed for. And I can show you, this is a special tree with apples in the office. So, and those trees with apples, this is one of the really unique things about preschool program, because the idea for the student is to keep all the apples on the tree. So, and it means that they really behaved nicely during the day. And since in the office there are a lot of different items, as I mentioned, then the supervisor or assistant to the supervisor can explain to the young student what is that or this or that, and the meaning of every card and chart there. And then also you could see on the plan, on the plan of the class, that there is a quiet time activities area, and usually it's recommended that you use that area closer to the end of the day, and you can do different things there, play games, you can do finger plays, puppet plays, you can read them stories, you can play clay or card games or different things in that quiet area. And also there is a play area where students can again play different games. And a lot of attention should be paid to the physical development activities, and they may be divided into 3 groups: individual, coordination, and group activities. So, and these activities are closely interrelated with the coordination development test. And the test actually can help any teacher define motor coordination of the child, balance, eye-hand coordination, and a lot of different things. And they highly recommend that in your learning center you use that coordination development test. So a couple of words about coordination development test. It should be administered 3 times a year, in the beginning, in the middle, and at the end of the year. And it helps us figure out weaknesses which the child may have, and then point out those weaknesses to the parents so that they would be able to pay attention. And I can tell you that in some previous years we were able to define some eye problems and coordination problems, and maybe some other things which teachers actually conveyed to the parents, and parents were able to respond to those needs of their children. Sometimes the child might have such a poor vision that they do not see anything, and then the parents do not understand what's going on, and then only with the assistance of our teachers they were able to define that weakness and then take a proper treatment to their child. Then as for coordination development test, there should be a separate booklet for each child of that test. And here you can see how it actually looks. And there are different tests in this booklet. So tests from 1 to 11, these are those that you administer 3 times a year. Then tests 12 and 13, they're group activities. And Other tests are for other purposes, but at least if you manage to do from 1 to 11 for each individual child 3 times a year, that would be very nice. And then what is also special about preschool group, that all activities are taught or are done in a lockstep mode. So which means all students actually progress at the same time in the same direction and study the same material. Then after students actually are introduced to all the sounds, they may be introduced to the pace work. And for the first 3 weeks, even they work in the paces all together around the table, around the round table. But then when they really understand what to do in their paces, by the 4th week, they can be moved to their individual offices. And you see, this is really how our offices will look like. They're small offices, big enough for a small child, and their teachers help them individually. Again, I would like to remind you that all subjects in School of Tomorrow program, they are color coded. So, and for all levels, math paces will always be colored yellow, English red, social studies green, science blue, and word building purple. And then from the very initial stage, from the kindergarten program, all children will get used to that material. So if they take in their hands a yellow pace, they will understand that it's a math pace. If they take a purple pace, they will understand it's a word building pace. And then while you are actually completing your training material, you will read procedures manual and you will know what procedures are applied to students of all grades from 1 to 12. But when you work with the younger students, the procedures are a bit different. So for example, for the younger students, we do not apply such a procedure as a repeat pace. And we do not actually specify that they failed a pace because we're supposed to create the atmosphere of success for those small children. So even if they do not know something, we do not tell them that they failed a pace. Since those children do not know how to read yet, all the instructions are visualized in those paces. And all the instructions practically are printed only for the supervisor. Then, since young children do not know how to count yet, even page numbers are not emphasized. But by the time they study a pace number 5, they probably know some numbers, then those numbers of pages are printed in large black type. And this is how the instructions are visualized. Of course, if you see an eye, then you need to have a look at something. Yeah? If you see an ear, then you need to listen to the teacher. And then you see an open mouth, then you need to repeat. And if you see a finger, it means you need to point out. Yeah. And then other distinctive features of this program. So there are dotted examples, there are dotted circles and arrows, dot-to-dot pictures, coloring, directional arrows. Then tests, usually for all other paces of all other grades, tests are inside in the middle of the pace. And before we give that pace to the student, we pull out the test. For this program, tests are actually on the last 3 pages of the paces. Then, what is the purpose of actually doing math paces of the kindergarten level? Of course, there are a lot of purposes. And in those paces, the following areas are covered. So they're supposed to be able to recognize numbers. Then they're supposed to supposedly know how to count to 100 by ones, tens, and then tens. Then they're supposed to have association of amounts with numerals, proportions, larger, smaller, so a lot of concepts, more or less, and so on. And there are also some supplement sheets which can be done at home for those children and those parents who like homework. There are some. Then, which areas may be covered in the English paces? Of course, our main purpose when we are teaching preschool program is to prepare the child to be successful at school. That's why they're supposed to be aware of a lot of different concepts. For example, position, direction, size, form, distance. Then they're supposed to be able to recall objects and recognize those objects. Then they're supposed to develop their auditory memory. They're supposed to understand the rhyming, motor skills, sequencing, then comprehension. They're supposed to recognize colors and categorize things which are alike or not alike. Again, this is very brief. And besides, Mr. Dmitry will also share with you his practical experiences working in that group. And then what actually they can learn from their social study spaces on the level of preschool group. They can learn about families, about some personal responsibilities, how their relatives are called, about church. This topic actually may be, especially in our school, may be questionable because we have students from 35 different countries of different religions, and they may not know about the church. But then sometimes even we may skip that. Sometimes our supervisors are really, we are blessed with them because they're able to explain what it means, even though students don't understand. And they get their initial information about the countries and a little about the history. Of course, the most interesting paces are science paces, and they get their initial introduction to creation and nature. And as you know, in this program, all science material is actually introduced from the creationism point of view. So which means we recognize the fact that all around us is God's creation. And on the level of preschool group, students get the initial information about it, about seasons and weather, good habits, manner, body parts, 5 senses. And also at the back, there are some supplement sheets, which can be done at home. Then, what about the word building paces? Mostly they contain visual materials for animal stories. Then the last page is a test. And before each test, you're supposed to play a review game with them. And this game may be played in the quiet area. Now, for you, this is an example of the daily activities. And daily activities may actually a little change from day to day, but mostly from 8 to 12 for 4 hours, 5 days a week, you can do this kind of activities. As you know, in School of Tomorrow, we really pay a lot of attention to the opening activities, and we start training them on the preschool level for those activities. They usually say pledges, prayers, songs. Then we introduce simple rules to them. And then, if they start from preschool level, then when they go to the next grade, they are already aware that every day will start with opening activities. Then also, this is an example for you what can be done every day after opening. Usually you review physical activities, and then every day you may change what kind of paces you do during this or that day. So for example, day 1 you can do word building in English, and day 2 you can do word building, English, social studies, and science. Yeah, and usually every day you take them for outside break, and every day, of course, you give them some time to rest time and finalize the day with final activities. And then you see on day 3, for example, you do not only word building English, but also math. And again, basically, it's all the same. Every day, only you take different paces. And day 5, then and after they successfully finish all this program, then at the end you can issue them a graduation diplomas, kindergarten graduation. So which is a very exciting day for all of us. That's it. Do you have any questions? So I'm actually ready to answer, but I know that unless you practically start working with that program, you will not have any questions because you do not work with the small kids. But to know some initial tips about it, it's very important for all teachers who work with School of Tomorrow program. So, yes, yes. So you use those pictures for illustration during your classes. So actually, in our program, there are so many, I would say, helping materials, supplementary materials. Yeah, so you can utilize a lot of pictures from the paces, or you can. A lot of our teachers, they make their own cards from the pictures in the paces, and then there are play cards with the students. So we do not throw that material. You can prepare several sets of cards for different children. Yeah, so just if you order those spaces from us, and then even if children work in those spaces, still you can use the pictures for playing games and making the cards for them. You see, in our school, we actually add to those activities because Mr. Dmitry is so talented in so many ways. So he even teaches them how to bake, and then he can, if you pass by at the right time, you can get something, a little pizza or a little cookie. So we are really blessed with our teachers. Of course, because we tried and then we liked your cooking, so that's why we allowed. So, anything else? But what I can tell you, in our regions, a lot of people actually tried to use this program to open bilingual kindergartens. With these 4 volumes, you can have a complete program for the kindergarten. Either it can be like kindergarten in English, or it can be a bilingual kindergarten. You can use Russian children, but for half of the day, you can use this activity, since most of the children in the Russian kindergarten stay there from 8 till 5 or 6, and these activities were, or 8, from 8 to 8. So, and those activities are scheduled from, let's say, 8 to 12. Then the rest of the day can do their activities in Russian, yeah? Or you can somehow stretch those activities and do 4 more hours. But again, it depends on the qualification of the teacher, on the preparation, on the knowledge of this program, and how all the activities can be divided during the day. But it's very perspective, because, for example, people who want to enroll their children to our school, a lot of them, they say, oh, our child used to go to a bilingual kindergarten. But then when you meet the child, you understand that they have very basic concept of English. And then when you start talking to the parents, then they say that the whole concept of bilingual education was allowing them to have 20 minutes of English every day. Yeah. So, and which means the teacher comes, and we also recommend here activities for 15, 20 minutes. So then the teacher comes for 20 minutes, sing a song with them or play something, then they go. But when you try to ask the child something, of course, they do not understand and they cannot answer. But anyway, if you give that a good name like bilingual kindergarten, it's a nice marketing tool, yeah? So then they have more clients and they expect that their child will know how to speak English. So it's a good idea for those who wants to open a bilingual kindergarten. So if you take this program, it means you're taking a complete full program. And then even here in different areas in Moscow, you can open that kindergarten and it will be very successful, because after people really get to know that you're offering subjects in English from that age, then you will have no competition in that area, mostly. If you are able, anyway, you will be with us. You will be with us. You'll be buying curriculum from here. But we are really interested in opening more institutions using this program. So when you're ready, let us know. We will offer our methodological assistance. So do you have any other questions? Hmm? Say it. No. No. So, but I'm really glad if you understood something about this class. You know, in our school, it's a small class and not even everyone goes to that area where they study. So not everyone can see how hard those teachers work and how difficult it is to teach those little children when they come and all of them speak different languages and know nothing. And we're really praying for our really patient and nice teachers who are working with them on a daily basis. So we're really thankful and we're blessed with those teachers. And I'm sure Mr. Dmitry will share more from his practical experiences. Okay, any other questions? You'll have a longer break. Really? Yeah. If you want to have more pace work, then of course you can start early. If everyone is here, then why not? And pace work is supposed to start at what time? 3:30. And then you have only 1 hour and a half? Mhm. This is what I'm saying. So if everyone does his work faster, then you will have more time for pace work. Okay? So if no more questions, so thank you very much. You may have 5 minutes break.